Guys, I found a yummy noodle stand down here by the Anchor Night Market. Just about to make me some of my favorite things, which are noodles with stuff in it. Alright guys, it's Thursday morning here in Siem Reap. On my way walking to breakfast. I thought while I'm walking I would take this opportunity to answer some questions that subscribers have asked me. So let me tell you a little bit about myself in case you don't know. I come from Michigan in the United States. I lived in a town called Grand Haven. It's on the western side of the state, right by Lake Michigan. The winters were brutal, long, and completely unnecessary, in my opinion. For most of my life, I was a factory worker. I worked in manufacturing. Basically, all that means is you stand in front of a machine, some kind of machine. Could be a press machine, it could be a welder. That's something. You put parts in, you push buttons, you wait for them to come out, and then you gotta inspect them and pack them. It's a very boring, monotonous job, and it's not one I enjoyed. I did not like it any day I was there. The last job I was at, I was there probably the longest job I ever had in my life. My whole life can be timelined in 4-year increments. Whether those 4 years are relationships or jobs, I've never had anything last much more than 4 years, because I would get bored and I would just want to move on to the next thing. And I realized that's not what you're taught growing up. That's not what you aspire for. You know, you go to college, you get your education, you find a career. You don't get a job, you find a career. And then you meet somebody who's supposed to be your soulmate. You get married, you have 2 kids, and you live happily ever after. That's the fairy tale anyway. But that wasn't for me. Once I get bored with something, normally I just drop it. But yeah, every 4 years I'd get another manufacturing job because that's all I knew. And I didn't like any of them. There is no creativity involved in those jobs at all. You just do what they say, when they say, for how long they say, and that's it. If you look below in all my information, right down below this video, you'll see a button that says show more. You'll see a link for the first book I wrote, which is called Factory Rat, Get a Real Job. You can buy it on Amazon. This is an exaggerated account of a week in my life in a factory. But even though it's exaggerated, I want to be perfectly clear that all these situations actually did happen. All the conversations that took place actually happened. All the people I talk about are actually real people, even though I changed their names so they wouldn't get offended. But you can see kind of the ridiculousness of what you have to go through when you have a job in manufacturing. It's just for the money they pay you, it's a ridiculous amount of requirements and rules and regulations, and it's truly a job that sucks, in my opinion. But the people there were really awesome. That's the last place I worked, and that's why I decided to write about it. I really enjoyed the people there. They were what I'd like to call my kind of stupid, because it was crazy stupid. It was fun stupid. We were all in the same mess together, and we made the best of it while laughing along the way. But anyway, enough about my book. That's what I did, and that's the longest job I ever had. And the reason I stayed with it is because about almost 2 years ago now, I read an article on my phone in my news feed at random. And it was just an article that said these are the 10 best countries to live in. And they based it on a few factors like the friendliness of the people, the cost of living, infrastructure, how easy it was for expats to adapt, you know, things like that. And first I want you to know Cambodia was not on that list. Even though that's where I am. But two places that were on the list that immediately got my attention were Taiwan and Thailand. And I can't tell you why those two places got my attention. But as soon as I read the article, I decided to do some research. And the more I researched, the more I liked those two places. The more I could see myself living there. And at this point, it was just a thought, nothing more. I had no serious plans. And then one day, for whatever reason, I can't really tell you what that reason was, I just woke up and said, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna move to Thailand. Again, I realize I'm not in Thailand. But that was my original goal. Again, if you look down below in the links, the very first one, you'll see a donate button for my PayPal address. And it says actually paypal.me/Dave in Thailand. It's kind of the brand name I came up with when I was thinking about moving to Thailand, and I was asking for donations to help with my move. And so everything I branded was Dave in Thailand, Dave in Thailand, Dave in Thailand. But my goal was to raise enough money to live somewhere for at least a year until I could figure out what I wanted to do or needed to do to make money to sustain myself. And that's when I discovered teaching English. And it was one of the best choices I ever made, was taking my TEFL course, TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language. I took the course, 170 hours, I passed, got my certificate, and I can now teach English almost anywhere in the world that has English teachers. Almost. Some countries require other qualifications besides just a TEFL certificate. For instance, the reason I'm not in Thailand, which was my original goal, is because, come to find out, they also require a bachelor's degree if you want to legally teach English in Thailand. I did not have a bachelor's degree, and I did not want to wait 4 years so I could obtain a bachelor's degree. So, again, I took to the internet, started looking around, and found out that in Cambodia, you do not need a bachelor's degree. Your TEFL certificate and being a native English speaker are the only qualifications you need. So I quickly changed my mind about Thailand and said, nope, looks like I need to start researching Cambodia because that's where I'm going. That was about a year ago. And I worked hard for that year. I went into a job I hated every day. I did the work I was supposed to do just so that they could pay me my money. And then I saved. I saved enough so I knew when I got over here, based on the cost of living for a single person, that I could live for almost a year before I had to get a teaching job. Now, I don't look at it like that. I'm going to get a teaching job well before that time. But I've been here since January 2nd. So a little bit over 2 months, and I'm still in what I like to call vacation mode. I'm just enjoying myself, getting the lay of the land still, figuring things out. And then eventually, next month, I'll be getting a job teaching English. But that's how I wound up in Cambodia, and actually, I didn't choose it as my first choice, actually. It was actually my third choice. Taiwan, Thailand, Cambodia. But that does not mean I have any regrets whatsoever. Once I started studying the culture and the history of Cambodia, I felt like I was still making the right decision in coming here. And even though it didn't make no top 10 list of best places to live for foreigners, I tell people this, and this is absolutely true. After a horrendous, drama-filled, almost 40-hour plane ride here, when I stepped out of them doors after receiving my visa, I felt immediately at home. I felt peaceful, I felt calm. The last 40 hours didn't matter anymore. And I've never looked back. I love it here. And I'll tell people this all the time. The only way I'm leaving is if they force me to leave. And if I never have to see another flake of snow again, it'll be even better. Now, if you're thinking about coming over here, there's a couple things you should know. One good thing about the lifestyle, my lifestyle back home that I talked about earlier, about not having the normal, conventional lifestyle, about always having to adapt and go on to something new and something new and something new. I'm really an adaptable person. Seriously, I adapted here really quick. I adapted to the heat and the culture and the food. But people who live a more conventional life, maybe you've had the same job 30, 40 years, same routines, you eat the same food, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, you might find it a little difficult because here you have to adjust for things daily and sometimes hourly. There are just things that happen or circumstances that happen. And if you're not an adaptable person, you're going to get easily frustrated. And that's just not something you want to do over here. You kind of want to maintain your level-headedness. But I think most humans are more adaptable than what we give ourselves credit for. I think we convince ourselves, oh, I could never do that. I could never eat that food. I could never suffer in that heat. But yeah, you can. Because once you get over here and you start doing it, you almost have to, right? You either do that or you just go running back home. Got two choices. And I dove in the deep end here. The only place outside of the United States I had been previously to coming here was in Germany about 30 years ago when I was in the military. I was in the military for 4 years. I spent 2 years in Germany. Other than that, I've never left the United States. I didn't come here and visit first. I didn't come here to check it out and see if I wanted to, if I was going to like it or not. I dove in head first, bought a one-way plane ticket, quit my job, sold as much stuff as I could back home, collected all my savings, and everything I owned was packed in 2 backpacks and a suitcase. Everything else got sold or left behind. And I have zero regrets. There's not a day that doesn't go by when I don't have that moment, a moment of surreal realization. When I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually on the other side of the world, man. I am in Cambodia. How cool is that? It just hits me, like that reality hits me at least once a day. Brings a smile to my face because it's like, wow, this is so awesome. That just 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I had no idea where it was. I wasn't thinking about moving anywhere. I didn't want to move anywhere. I figured I'd live the rest of my sad existence doing jobs I hated until I died of an anger stroke because the people in charge of where I work were amazingly ungifted at making good decisions. I'll put it that way. And I seriously thought that was all that was going to happen. And now I'm here. And I'm really happy for the first time in probably 10, 15 years. I mean, there's a difference between being happy on because of certain things that happen during the day that make you happy, or just having that overwhelming sense of happiness. Even when things go wrong, I'm still happy. And that didn't happen back home. All my happiness was dependent on what was actually happening at the time. Which is why I was kind of an asshole. I can admit that. But again, no regrets. It is what it is. So that should answer some of your questions, I hope. Feel free to leave a comment. Just say hey. If you have any other questions, if you have any other requests, and I can do them, I will do them. Some things I might not be able to, but if I can, I will. So right now I'm going to get something to eat, and then I'll be back. See ya.